Good morning. Whoa, getting too close to this guy. I'm going to shut him off. It's shut off. Okay. Okay. I start every presentation. First of all, thank you for having me. Thanks for letting someone from the United States come up to the beautiful country of Canada and speak. So I greatly appreciate that. Um, this is where it all starts right here, folks. This is my immediate family. You need the support and the backing of everyone in your family to make this journey be successful. There's been tremendous speakers throughout this conference, and to get to where we are, um, we need to have the support of all the people in this picture. I hope everyone in the room does. I know it's difficult with family members. I know that's difficult. I've been there. So try to work through those problems. At home, most of the neighbors, and by the way, home for me is a state called Indiana. Most people know where Champaign, Illinois is. Come straight east into Indiana, and that's where our farm is. So we're at the edge of the prairie, pretty good soil. I drove from the Winnipeg airport to here, and I saw some huge fields on the way here, and things look very productive. I don't know if they are, but from the road at 110 kilometers per hour, they look pretty good. Most of our neighbors at home grow corn and soybeans. We are up to 9 crops plus one: corn, soybeans, wheat, alfalfa, peas, milo, buckwheat, cover crops, sheep, and cattle. And the plus one is what I call regen. That's where we will take an acre out of production and give it a warm season cocktail and then a cool season cocktail. There's not very many times in Indiana where we get to plant warm season cocktails. We don't get as cold as you do here, but we will get to minus 20, minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll freeze 2 to 3 feet deep, but nothing like you get here. Currently, that's actually the number's a little higher than that now, but all of our acres are certified organic. We haven't used any starter fertilizer in 11 years, no fungicides, no seed treatments, no insecticides, no P or K, and no ag lime. I know there's more to what I'm getting ready to say than what's on the screen, but our pH on our farm averages about 6.8, and it's on the rise. And the reason why is because we've taken all the salts and the acids out of our system. Once you do that and you become healthy, you don't need insecticides and you don't need fungicides. That's how this works. So it's taken us years to get to here. So please don't think we can go home today and that crazy guy from the United States came and talked, and I'm going to take everything and I'm going to shut it off on my farm. It doesn't work like that. It's taken a long time to get to this point, but it can be done. No nitrogen applied in 6 years, so I'm very proud of that. One of the things that we're really what's going on here, and I don't care if you're a livestock producer or a row crop, I don't care what it is you're doing. We're trying to get a symbiotic relationship with Mother Nature. We're trying to get the farm, the land, the soil in balance. And the previous gentleman had a wonderful presentation, and he had a couple slides up there from Regen Ag Lab, which is in Nebraska, the United States. And I use the same lab. We do similar tests. The Haney Soil Health Test is a phenomenal test to use. I'm going to talk more about it in a little bit later in the presentation, but there are things in that report that will tell you how far out of balance you are. For example, bacterial to fungal relationships. If you are coming out of a high fertility, high tillage system, you will have about 98% bacterial and about 2% fungal in your soil profile. And once you start to make the transition and you start to implement the principles of soil health, you will see that number change. That's all the more sophisticated you need to be to look at that, changing from a bacterial-based environment to a more of an imbalance between a bacterial and a fungal. We have actually taken our farm so far to the fungal now that we have trees growing in the fields. We have done exactly what Mother Nature intended for our soils to be. Now, can you raise row crops in amongst trees? No. So we've gone a little too far. So I'm out of balance, but I'm out of balance the other way now. But that's what these tests will show you. And again, we're going to talk more about this. I hope everybody knows what the 6 principles of soil health are. And if you don't, please Google it, look it up, learn what they are. Number 1, and I don't necessarily have these in order of what I think importance is, but minimize disturbance. That's 2 things. That's tillage and that's chemistry. So if you want to start down the regenerative path, we need to understand how are we going to minimize disturbance. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. Maximize diversity. This probably is number 1 to me, even though I just prefaced this earlier, but I don't have them ranked. This is probably number 1. You need diversity in every aspect of everything you do in your life, the people you surround yourself with, the books you read, the knowledge you obtain, the surfing you do, the questions you ask Mrs. Google, and she's the smartest person in the world. That is part of diversity. When you are, let's just talk about grazers in the room. There's a lot of grazers in the room, a lot of ranchers. You guys don't expect your animals to just eat a monocrop. So you need to get diversity. That is through the forages you plant. That is through the grazing, the methods of grazing you do that express the native species to come back. That's giving you diversity. It's that important. Living roots. You have to have a living root as many days as possible. Now, I know it's cold here, and I know your season seems short, but you probably have a longer growing season of daylight than I do, because your growing season's like this, where mine is like this. I'll have 10 hours of sunlight, and you folks might have 12 or 14. So all of that matters. There'll be days at home when we've got cereal rye that's been planted in the fall, and it'll go dormant. We'll get that wonderful Canadian clipper. I guess that's from Alberta, right? Those Canadian clippers come down. We will drop into the -30s, -40s. That field goes dormant. It looks like it's over for the season. Then that clipper comes and goes. We warm back up, say just to freezing. So again, I'm sorry, I'm going to speak in American, 32 degrees. We're just got to freezing. What's that field do? It greens right back up. That means it's still alive. So just because it got down to -40 doesn't mean that it's over. Those roots are still alive, and those exudates are still feeding the microbes. Armor the soil. You've gone to all this work to minimize disturbance, maximize diversity, have a living root, and then you go out and you obliterate what's on top, and you lose your armor. Well, that armor is protecting the soil in many ways. It's protecting the microbes. Most microbes will start to die at 103 to 104 degrees of temperature. And if you look at a barren field again, I'm going to speak from my point of view in Indiana, on a 95-degree day, and you put a thermometer in the ground at 1 inch, inch and a half level, you will be well over 130 degrees. You go into an area that has a good biomass cover crop, and you'll be in the 70s. That is what needs to happen. And also, when we talk about resilience, now we got to be careful here. Do I think our systems are more resilient than our neighbors? Yes. Are they resilient to the degree that they can handle any wrath of Mother Nature? No, they're not. We have had in the last 3 years, we've had two, I don't know what you call them, micro drought, mini drought, whatever, 6, 7 weeks of no rain, 95 degrees in the daytime, doesn't get below 70 at night. And you expect your crops to be able to withstand that for 6 or 7 weeks? They may fare better, but they're still going to suffer. So we have to be careful when we refer to resilience. Yes, we are more resilient, but that's a very tough task to ask for. Context. Where are you in the world? Where are you on the journey? How thick is your skin? How much risk can you take? All of these things have to do with context. And here we go. Number 6, livestock. I know this isn't for everybody. There was a gentleman that asked the question. He said it wasn't for him. I get it. Sometimes the best cattle are the cattle that your neighbors own. Go talk to your neighbors. Hey, I've got an 80-acre field here. I'll put up the fence. We'll get the resources. We'll have water. Let's work out an arrangement. I'll get you pay me a rate of gain, or dollars per acre, dollars per day, something. Bring your cattle in. Let's rotationally graze across the 80 acres. You take them back home and you worry about keeping them alive in a minus 50-degree winter. That is a possibility. So don't always discount what your neighbors can do for you. But livestock, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to build soil health, the quickest and most efficient way is to have livestock grazing on your farm, period. I'm a very simplistic type person. I like to go up to 50,000 feet and just look down and not micromanage and just see what's going on. Here's what I know. I don't need any fancy tests to tell me this. On the fields that we rotationally graze livestock on, the next cash crop that is raised behind those cattle, whatever it is, will be the best yielding crop of the year. I don't need a fancy schmancy test to tell me that there's something real to having cattle on your ground. And if I could add one more commitment, we need to be committed to do this. There's going to be a lot of naysayers. There are a lot of naysayers. Probably one of the most aggravating things that I think is occurring today is the so-called regenerative farmers bickering amongst each other about whose system's better than the next, or his system won't work. That gains nothing. There is no one system. It is a combination of many ideas. It is what are you willing to do as a producer? Do you want to, is your goal to only reduce inputs by 20%? Great, then do that and make it work within your context, within your system. But we need to be committed to do it. Take advantage of the free stuff. Does anybody know what that is right there? I'm sorry? Sunlight, photosynthesis, very good. It is absolutely imperative that we take full advantage of sunlight. When we can double our biomass growing in a field, and I don't know what these equations are, I don't know. There's people that do know. But the amount of exudates that goes into the ground, which is liquid carbon, goes up as well. So we need to understand that. The energy from the sun is powerful and it's free. At least it's still free today. That could change. Who knows? Okay, let me set this field up. This is probably one of the most powerful. The next couple slides are some of the most powerful slides I put together. And folks, you can't put slides like this together unless you collect data and then you crunch that data. It takes a long time to do this, but when you persevere, data is your friend. I am a data junkie. That's where a lot of decisions that are made are based on data. And it's not single points in time. It's what is that trend of whatever it is you're talking about. I could check my blood sugar right now and in 20 minutes check it again. Is it going to be in the same spot? No. But what's the trend? What's it been doing over the last hour? Why did it go up? Why did it go down? Those are the things you need to understand. So this was a cornfield in the fall. We harvested the corn. We came in. We planted 80 pounds of Elbon cereal rye. Drilled it with a no-till drill, and it was not a Bourgeois. I wish I had one. I don't know why. I wake up. A lot of times I wake up around 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and I have ideas or weird thoughts. And I'm like, what is going on in this beautiful cereal rye field that's growing? What's going on above ground? I don't know. Well, let's do a little research. Well, yeah, we can take a sample and we can send it to a lab and we can get a feed analysis back. That's what this is. So here's what you do. And again, I apologize. I'm going to speak in American. Go to your hardware store, get PVC, the white plumbing. I don't know if you guys, I assume you have PVC pipe. 3/4 inch, 2 foot by 2 foot square. Walk out in the field, place it on the ground, get on your hands and knees and clip everything off at ground level inside that square. Put it in a bag, send it to Regen Ag Lab, and say, I want a feed analysis back. Now, they will send you the data. The reason why we're doing, and ranchers and grazers do the same thing with what you're feeding your cows. Get the information from exactly what they are consuming. Here's what I would do. I'd have your paddock set up, because this is what we have done. I would get your paddock set up. I would get an analysis of the next paddock you're getting ready to move into. And then I would get an analysis out of what's left in the paddock they just left from. And then maybe go back. And then what you're going to be able to see is you're going to be able to see how quick those fields have rebounded back as far as a feed analysis is concerned. That's the kind of data I'm talking about. So 12-inch rye, 82 pounds of nitrogen. This is just above ground material, folks. 82 pounds of nitrogen. You can read 15 pounds of P2O5, 32 pounds of O46O, and 76 pounds of K2O. This is, and folks, this is I just grabbed 5 or 6 things. There'd be enough information on this report to fill the wall up here. Boron, sulfur, molybdenum. It's on and on and on. This field is going to be planted to soybeans. 18-inch rye. You know how many days it took to go from 12-inch to 18-inch rye? 4 days. I think you could put a lawn chair out in the field and watch it grow. Think about grazing cattle on that. Think how fast that rye would come back right behind them in that paddock that they just came from, or the second one back. 213 pounds of 0060, that's potash. 28-inch rye. Look at those numbers. Now, Look at the biomass column, 6,800 pounds. That's pretty good, but it's not good enough for an operation that wants to be organic with no tillage and uses no chemistry. This is our method of suppressing weeds, the biomass that's grown from the cover crop. But look at a couple of columns here. Look at the nitrogen column, 134 pounds. I remember back in time when I was researching what this cover crop notion was all about. And I remember a lot of articles and a lot of people saying you cannot plant corn into cereal rye. That is bupkis. You can, as long as you understand what's going on here. Do you see what's happening? Look at the sequestration power the cereal rye has. It is pulling 134 pounds of nitrogen out of the soil profile. The corn is starving. So when you understand this, you move your nitrogen. If you are on a nitrogen, I can't do this anymore because I'm organic. If you want to do this and you want to chemically terminate, fine. Move your nitrogen forward with the planter closer to V3, V4, and terminate the cereal rye. Now, luckily, I had my brain hooked on here because that information is all fine and dandy. But what does it really mean at the end of the day? This sample was taken 2 months after termination. Look at the exhaustion of the nutrients out of this cover crop. That's a mind blower. The potash column went to 65 pounds. Is all of that going to be available for that cash crop at this point in time? No. But there is going to be enough there to raise a soybean crop. You know, I'm not about yield. I'm about soil health and I'm about human health. And human health, there's so many ways that we can look at human health. And most of the ways that I've heard about in this conference are all exactly correct. Better food, nutrient density, all of these things, yes, are for human health, but there's another side of human health that doesn't get talked about enough. And that's us farmers out here being expected to work in an environment with products that have skull and crossbones on them. That is unacceptable. Paraquat, skull and crossbones, that means death. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not exposing my children to that. That first slide I put up there, I'm not exposing my grandchildren to that. That is how I look at human health. There's two ways, two sides of that. And I still cannot believe as farmers, we are expected to live in that kind of a world to produce a subpar product. Okay. I thought one day, what does all this mean in dollars? And again, I apologize. What do we do? Multiply everything by 1.4? Is that what we do here today? Isn't that something? 1.4 to 1? I think I might stick around for a couple weeks. Okay, 12-inch rye. I just picked the three biggies, N, P, and K. 14-inch or 18-inch rye, $345 worth of value. Look at this 28-inch rye, $435 worth of value that was in that above ground material. And then there's what I used. 100 pounds of Elbon rye at 29 cents a pound, 29 bucks an acre for the cover crop. And there was some other items in with that rye because I don't usually ever plant a monocrop. So there would have been 6 or 7 things that winter killed. And then those are the numbers I use. I don't know how accurate they are because I built that slide in 22. I don't know and I don't care because I don't buy this stuff. So I really don't care. But that's what the rye can do for you. What percent of nitrogen is in this room we're breathing right now? Does anybody know? How much? 78. Who said that? Yeah, 78%. 78.1% nitrogen in this room right now. Excuse me. Why don't we just take advantage of that and let's grow some legumes? Okay, same thing. Same thing. That 2 foot by 2 foot jig we made, put on the ground. May 20th, sample we took had 75 pounds of nitrogen and so on and so on. Again, there were many other things we could have put on this slide, but these are the ones I picked. June the 4th, 114 pounds of N, 56 pounds of P2O5. I mean, look at the sulfur up to 9 now, magnesium up to 12. But look at this next line. Again, this is 4 days. Look what happens here. This is exponential. And this is what excites me, because this is why on that second, or I don't remember what slide, second or third slide, I showed you I don't use any more potash. I don't use any more DAP. I don't use any of that stuff. This is why. But I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't been knowing to collect this data. Okay, you know, one of the favorite things I love to do is we'll plant legumes with our cereals, our wheat, our barley, our rye, all these things. We will plant a legume with them so they have a source of nitrogen to feed from. Or we will, one of those favorite legumes is a pea. Now, I know you get very cold here. I know that. But I think, and maybe someone in the room's already tried this. Has anybody in the room tried Survivor peas from Grassland, Oregon? Anybody? No. Please try that. Survivor peas from Grassland, Oregon, or Wyoming peas. These peas were bred in Wyoming. They get just about as cold as you do. From Green Cover, Keith Burns at Green Cover, Nebraska. And what we do is we will plant our cereal grain of the date that it's supposed to be planted as close as we can. It's usually that first week of October. And then we will plant a cold tolerant pea, which is the Survivor pea or a Wyoming, into that crop before our ground freezes. So it could be 30 days later. And we just planted, as a matter of fact, we just did this last week at home. And those peas will grow with your cereal grain. Now, a couple things can happen here. A, you could find a producer that is willing to feed a cereal grain and a pea together. Probably can find one. We've found several. The chicken people are actually the most excited about that. And you just take it to maturity and you put it in a bin and you sell it to the animal producer. Another way to do it is to harvest the two together and separate them, which we do that as well. We have a cleaner, we have a clipper cleaner, and we can separate the peas out of the cereal grain. That's an easy one. That's easy to separate. Cereal grain goes over there, peas go over there. So there's many things that we can do, or you can get really creative, come up with a forage package and then graze that off with your animals. Okay, again, I was thinking, and I did the same thing. I took this, what was that, 6 weeks, roughly? Look at the nitrogen. Now you understand now why it's not just smoke and mirrors about why I don't apply any synthetic fertilizer. And I told you a few minutes ago that I'm not at all playing the yield game. I mean, it's unbelievable to me, some of the things that people will say. Well, prices are low and inputs are high, so I got to figure out how to raise even more corn for next year. Uh, yeah, I don't get that. But is my system, and I don't want to call it my system, but is the way we're farming on our farm, is it going to produce 300 bushel corn? No. Do I need it to produce 300 bushel corn? No. I don't think I put the slide in here, but right now, our farm is saving $2.7 million in input costs. So when you start with a negative 2.7 million, you don't need a lot of yield. So for me, yield, a good yield for a corn crop, 140 bushel. 140 bushel in the Midwest of the United States, is this guy's nuts. Well, we are organic. The bid for corn that we have right now is $10 a bushel. So that's $1,400 an acre gross. I have no input costs. So 1,400 minus 0 is 1,400. We have mortgages. We have whatever, $500 an acre, fixed costs. That's $900 an acre profit. Now, do you understand that this is not about a yield game? This is about a soil health, human health game. Look at that organic carbon, 5,200 pounds per acre. That's crazy. Okay, same thing. I'm probably running out of time. May 20th numbers were worth almost $300. June 4th, 460. Look at what the June 8th numbers are worth here, almost $1,000 of inputs. Isn't that crazy? And that's only the top three. I don't have sulfur in there, not boron and molybdenum, all these other things. So again, guys, Duncan did not invite me to come here to talk today to tell you how to farm. That'd be so silly of me to come to Canada and tell you how to farm. But what I hope you do is take something out of this and take it home and try it on your farm. That's all I ask. I've never told anybody ever to farm like I do. The way we are farming is extremely hard. Extremely hard. No-till, cover crop, organic, no chemistry. That is hard. Do we have fields that do a big old belly flopper? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've also got fields that come out like looking like a shining star. So when you average it all out at the end of the day, we get to live and play another day. Epigenetics. This is where this is the future. This is the future. Go ahead and read that real quick. I'm going to take a drink of water. All right, heritable phenotype changes that do not involve alterations in the DNA sequence. Can you imagine that? We can plant a species that's a non-GMO? Wow. We do the same thing with our cattle. Maybe the people in the room do the same thing. We pull all the sires from within the herd. No outside genetics. That is creating a phenotype that you want for your land. That's what I want. And that's what we're doing. We do the same thing with grains. But now we got to take a little time out here. We got to do this legally. I hope everybody in this room understands that if you plant non-GMO soybeans, you cannot put them in your bin, pull them out of your bin, and plant them next spring. I hope we all know that. But Rick, they're not traded. Oh, yes, they are. The seed companies figured out that, you know what? That non-GMO soybean variety doesn't have a trait, but by golly, it's got genetics. So we're going to patent the genetics. That's what they've done. So we went back, and there are buildings in the United States that house seeds. Every seed known to man and woman are in these buildings. Canola, spring wheat, whatever. You can go in there and you can look at their catalog and you can buy genetics that are off patent. And that's what we did. We bought 10 soybean variety lines that were off patent. We did this 5 years ago. For $100, you get 50 seeds. I know this sounds like child's play. I know that. Follow me through here. You grow those 50 seeds out, you harvest what they produce, you grow out the next generation, and you grow out the third generation, and then you have enough to put in your mechanical machine and go out and plant 40 acres. And that's what we've done. And we have our own soybean lineup that we own the genetics. We do the same thing with cereal rye. We do the same thing with anything we can that is not under patent. Epigenetics, livestock, same thing. The sheep and the cattle are all coming from within the herd. All right, baseline. I don't know how much time do I have? 15 minutes? All right. Okay, baseline. This is extremely important. I mean, when you think about, you got to think about where we are today and where we're headed. How are you going to know any of this, that where you're heading is doing you any good, if you don't collect the data for a baseline? Haney Soil Health Test, highly recommended. PLFA, Solvita, CO2 burst, and Biomaker's B crop. Those are the 4 things that I would do. All inputs, chemicals, fertility, and tillage. So pick a field. What have we done? Try to remember all of the history you can for this field. What have we done? How much potash have we put on? How much fertilizer? How much? Everything. What have we done? Baseline it. Get your Excel spreadsheet out and start building it. Test and research. Start on small acres, find out what's going to work and not work. Please do not jeopardize the livelihood of your farm. That's not what this is about. Again, I prefaced this earlier, you cannot just turn off the switch and expect this to work. Run multiple tests per year, 6 at least. That's what we usually are running, is 5 to 6 tests a year. Develop a test grid template and move across fields. So in other words, come up with, like let's say you're working with 40 feet equipment. I'm just spitballing here. Then go out and create a grid in your fields of no change, a 10% reduction, 40 feet of no change, 40 feet of a 10% reduction, 40 feet of a 25, 40 feet of a 45, and 40 feet of a 70. And make that template move across field to field. So then when you come through with your equipment, you're lined up on the 40 feet and you stay within this grid, okay? That is the best way to see what kind of reductions can we truly make on this farm. I worked with Argentinians on this a couple of years ago. We created this grid, and they were taking this across something like 50,000 hectares. So a pretty big deal. The research needs to be 3 years minimum, and that's minimum. I mean, it needs to be research going on all the time, but what I'm referring to this comment is, before you start to reduce anything, get your data going for at least 3 years. go to conferences like this, you don't understand the power that's in this room. Here's where I'm going to ask my question I ask everywhere I go in this world. Who in this room has been no-tilling for at least 30 years? Raise your hand. Everywhere I go, right there he is. Everywhere I go in the world, there's somebody in the room, there's usually more than one. There's somebody in the room that's been no-tilling for 30 years. Obviously, it doesn't work here, right? Yeah. Not to put any pressure on you, sir, but I'd probably try to talk to this guy afterwards. I'm going to get in a car, go to Winnipeg, get on a plane, and go home. You need to utilize the local resources that you have here. I'm okay. I'm going to give the last slide I'm going to put up here is my contact info. I wouldn't give it to you if I didn't want you to call me. But that gentleman there, and was there somebody on this side that raised their hand as well? No? But that's what I mean. There's people here that have already been doing. I mean, when I went to Argentina, they've been no-tilling for 50 years. That's crazy. Crunch the data. Do not look at single point in time, look for trends. Remember I told you earlier about the bacterial to fungal relationship? I could see it moving as a trend. So you took the test here, you took it again here, you took it here, it was going like this. What is organic nitrogen doing compared to inorganic nitrogen? Another great way to see what you're doing. If you are in a high fertility system, what do you think your inorganic nitrogen levels are going to be in relationship to your organic nitrogen? It's going to be like this, right? Here's inorganic nitrogen. So when we start implementing the 6 principles of soil health and we start reducing synthetic inputs of nitrogen and relying on the cover crops for planting, this is what's going to happen. I don't need a fancy schmancy test to tell me that that's not right. The Haney test tells me that. Those are the things that I look for validations. And you have to always be out when you're walking around. Like when you are out in your paddocks and you're looking around, you need to be able to identify the species that are growing and say, whoa, wait a minute. That's a new one. Look what happened here. That's the validation that you know what you're doing is correct. I mean, we have taken our farm to the point of where Mother Nature intended it to be, but it's hard to raise row crops. Right now, I am combating perennial weeds. And another beautiful weed that we were given from the folks up north. Ooh, Canada thistle. Holy moly, is that thing a burger. Chicory, Kentucky bluegrass, wild lettuce, aster, trees. This is what's growing in our fields now. So I have to come up with some kind of a reset plan. It's going to be, I mean, all I'm saying is I have been so into building the soil health and building the human health that I've taken it a little too far. So we gotta pull back just a little bit. You know, I don't know. I hope somebody in the room has got an answer for me on how to mitigate Canada thistle, because I don't know how. They grow in round patches, and I'm telling you what, there is nothing that grows inside of that round circle. You can have the most beautiful cover crop that just totally circles that patch, and there's not one species growing in that Canada thistle patch. Take advantage of multiple tests, nutrient density, biomass, nutrient density, biomass, feed analysis, sap analysis, and bricks. All of these things are fairly easy to do. There's many other. Water infiltration tests, aggregate stability tests, earthworm counts, all of these things build to crunching the data, implementing the principles of soil health. Start reducing inputs. Let me tell you the combination of what was the best ROI on our farm. This is the combination right here. 100% cover crop, 100% no-till, 100% non-GMO, not organic, and 100%, or I'm sorry, 70% reduction of inputs. That right there, that's before we went organic. That combination still to this day gave us the best return on investment. I think that's getting close to a pretty reasonable guideline to follow. I honestly think we could go anywhere. Well, I shouldn't say anywhere. We could go most places in the world and reduce inputs by 30%, bar none. And if you just think about what that would do, so many times we get caught up in it has to be all or nothing. If we don't get every acre farming regenerative, it's not going to be a success. That is the wrong way to look at it. We all understand. I don't care what, you could make an announcement to the world today. I've got a product here that will, whatever you want to pick, I'll give you 10 years of your life. There are going to be people that will not do it just because. So we have to use that same thinking. We don't have to get every acre to be regenerative. It's like I said yesterday or last night. If you just lean in there a little bit, get the movement started, and then step back and let attrition take over, it's amazing what happens. So keep going forward, keep moving, but don't think of it as a failure if we don't get every acre to be regenerative. Make sure the first change you make is a good one. Because if it's not, you're done. You're going to say, Rick, I told you it would not work in Manitoba, Canada. I tried to tell you that, and I just proved it to you. So don't put yourself in that position. The gentleman had a suggestion. Somebody asked how you'd get started. He gave a very good answer, and that answer will probably lead to success, which will then create him to want to do it again and again and again. That was very good advice. It's not about yield, it's about ROI. Systematic biological approach running parallel. This is the biggest mistake I ever made. I did not have a biological program running with me when we started reducing inputs. I mean, think about it. Like I told you earlier, when you come out of a high fertility environment, you have almost zero organic carbon, and it's all zero organic nitrogen, and it's almost all non-organic nitrogen. And by the way, when you go back to the slide, I showed you the power of all the nitrogen that was being fixed, and then the power of the nitrogen that the cereal rice sequestered. That nitrogen is now in an organic state. It's not going anywhere unless the soil leaves the farm. It's not going to leach out. It's not going anywhere. So all of that nitrogen that was left over from those successful cover crops that we grew, and it sequestered nitrogen, it fixed nitrogen, that nitrogen stays in the soil for the next thing that you're going to put out there. Hopefully that's a cover crop after a cash crop. The thing I didn't think about was the biology. So my advice is, if you're going to start down I don't care if you're a grazer or if you're a row crop farmer, I don't care. You need to have a biological system running with you. I mean, there are nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil profile. If we add copious amounts of nitrogen to the soil profile, do you think those nitrogen fixing bacteria are going to do anything? They're on vacation. So then when you take the synthetic nitrogen away, you can't expect that bacteria to just turn it on. So that's where you need to augment. And the one method that I find the most beneficial in our system is in furrow. That seems to show the best results over everything we've tried. AEA and Physigrow are two of the companies that we work with, but you better make sure you vet everything. I mean, it's no different. It's no different than anything else. I can only imagine the cattle guys in the room. You're flying high finally. I'm glad we raise cattle. It's about time you get rewarded for all your hard work. But I'll bet there's every salesman under the sun that comes out of the woodwork that has a product for a cow. It's the best thing since sliced bread, Bob. Come on now, you got to buy this. I mean, this happens everywhere. Price of inputs goes down, and all the people are coming out of the woodwork that tell you how you can raise 300 bushel corn with no nitrogen. I mean, it's just nuts. So make sure you vet the source that's coming. I mean, I can't tell you how many people show up at the farm, or people that call, or people that email, hey, I'm going to leave 3 jugs of this, give it a try. I mean, no. I mean, the first thing you do, you need to go to the internet and buy a microscope. I bought one of these 6 or 7 years ago. Set the microscope in your office, get a sample of that product, take a little eyedropper, put an eyedropper on the slide, put it underneath the microscope, look down in it and say, holy cow, there's nothing moving around in here. It's dead. It's about what you're going to find. And most of the products are coming of a bugs in a jug program. So please be careful. Vet out everything. All right, this is just I'm almost done. This is just a quick package that I put together, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. If you want to take a picture, great. It's worked out really well for us. We'll plant this. We'll bring the cattle back. They'll graze across this. And what it does then, it sets up for our cash crop for the next year. So let me see here. Everything. Okay, there's just what is there, 2, maybe I'm looking at that very quickly, but maybe 2 items that are gonna winter or winter survive the winter. Hairy vetch and frosty berseem clover. I went with frosty berseem clover because frosty berseem clover is a non-bloating clover, so your cows won't bloat on it. And 2, it has a stem that is about as big as your pinky, and it's hollow, and it's very easy to terminate with a roller crimper. So that's why I went with this. Yeah, pounds. Yeah, sorry. If you are not uncomfortable with what you are doing, then you are not trying hard enough to change. It's that simple. You need to be uncomfortable, because if you're not, you're just on cruise control. Change is good. Change is inevitable. I challenge everyone here today to get a little uncomfortable. I think you'll like how it feels. I'm proud to be a farmer, but I'm way more proud of the way I farm. I call it regenerative organic stewardship. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anybody got a question?
You were talking about epigenetics,
Yes.
and anybody in this room can correct me, but my perception is, and maybe it's just the companies buying the product we produce, but there's restrictions on varieties go, you can't grow, you're not supposed to grow them, don't market them to our elevator. We don't want, say, one kind of red spring variety wheat anymore. So when you purchase those beans and they're off patent varieties,
No.
Who do you sell to? Or is there restrictions on who you can sell to in the
No.
state?
No. No, that's why it's difficult for me to tell you what I'm doing because I don't know what your laws are here. So I can
Right.
only tell you what I can do in the United States.
Yeah.
I am not restricted. Now, the only thing that would be close to what you're talking about would be a company that wants a food grade product, not a feed grade product, but a food grade product, and they will give you a list of approved hybrids if it's corn or approved varieties if it's soybeans. But that's only because those hybrids or varieties match the criteria that they need to be a food grade quality product. So what you're saying about you can't plant or you can't sell hard red spring wheat A because they won't take it, that I don't know. I don't know.
And if anybody in the room can correct me, am I wrong in saying that?
Is that, I don't know. Is that a valid comment? Valid statement? Don't know. Yes.
Hi, Rick. I'm a fourth generation dairyman. Just about your epigenetics, especially on the cattle.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns pulling your sires from within the herd
No.
about inbreeding depression or anything?
No.
Offsetting your epigenetic gain?
No, but I've not, we've only been doing this for about 5 or 6 years now. But no, I don't vaccinate. I mean, we're not organic certified cattle.
Yeah.
It's an organic certified farm, but the cattle are not. I just choose to, we don't vaccinate. We don't give drugs of any kind. We don't do anything. The livestock I look at are like the cover crops and the crops that we're raising, the rotations that we have. If the system is healthy, it will stay healthy and you probably won't have a problem. I'm not, what's the word I want here? I'm a little radical at times in the way I think and what I say and what we do. I do not promote that for you to do that. I only have you think about how you could change the way you look at your herd. Aren't you sourcing certain genetics, and do you AI or is it all live cover?
Yeah, we do all AI, and we are just moving from purebred Holstein to a rotational crossbreeding system.
Uh-huh.
So,
And you're looking for certain genetics in those when you get those semen straws, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we have found, and again, the dairy is a little different situation. It's out of my wheelhouse because I don't understand what the genetics does to pounds of milk and quality and butter fat and all that stuff. I don't know that. But in our operation, we have some of the best calves that we've ever had, and the sires have come from within the herd. That's all I can say. Yeah. Have you ever considered going A2?
Yeah, like most of the bulls we're using now are A2, but obviously you're not going to get that every time.
Right.
Until you're many
Right.
generations through. So
Yeah. But that would be a goal that I would be interested in if I was a dairy person. I'd be heading toward A2/A2 if you could. That would be my recommendation. Yeah.
You.
Good luck. Yes.
Hi. You had Dr. Christine Jones visiting your farm at one time. I was just wondering, what's the most important takeaway that you got from that visit from her?
Dr. Christine Jones is an absolutely amazing person. If you don't know who she is, please look her up. She is a soil scientist, osteopath. I mean, and she's got many titles. From Australia. Probably the number one takeaway that I got from her was you don't need a legume in any of your cover crop packages to fix nitrogen. And I'm like, well, wait, time out. You got to explain that one to me. And she went through the concept of we need to get multiple families in the cocktails, not multiple species. Let me explain that. When you get more families in your cocktail, you get more cross-referencing, more exudates from different family types that feed the microbes in the soil that then create the environment to raise a corn crop in. It took me an hour of conversation with her to understand this concept. We started implementing that this fall. I used to put in the cocktail packages at least 10 pounds of a legume, of multiples, like hairy vetch, berseem, whatever, yellow sweet clover, crimson, whatever. This year, we cut it to 3 pounds total. So we'll see. Now, the package that we planted last fall, which would have been after Christine's visit, was 7 families. We raised corn on that field with no other inputs than a 7-family cocktail. There was no litter, no manure of any kind. We raised corn on that field that was comparable to fields that we had some fertility on, of chicken litter or a cow manure or something like that. So that right there is what gained me the confidence to then do this more. So that, and then, it's always something that I thought about and I always assumed that we had, but Christine also is very adamant about compaction. And I don't care what it is we do or how good of a job we think we're doing, we're always going to have compaction, and she's exactly right. Now, the question is the compaction to a degree of level where it starts to hurt production? That's what you have to figure out. So when I went on, Keith Burns' Green Cover webpage has a free calculator when you build a cocktail. It tells you everything you need to know. So when I was starting to build the cocktail species of as many families as I could get to, now remember, I don't use any chemistry. So the number one thing we have to say to ourselves is, how are we going to terminate that cover crop? How are you terminating that next spring? Is it tillage? Is it chemistry? Is it roller crimping? Is it flail chopping? What is it, grazing? What are you doing to terminate that cover crop? I don't want to till. We may, I don't want to. We can't use chemistry. So that limits me on the number of families that I can represent. And that was 9. I got to 9. But if you're in a room here and you're going to use chemistry, then go up to 15 families because the chemistry will take care of those perennials. Remember I talked earlier about diversity is probably my number one thing. If you think about every cover crop package that's made, not every one, I can't make a broad brush stroke like that. Most of the cover crop packages that are made consist of what? Annuals. That's not much diversity, is it? The gentleman before me talked about how he saw different results and it was perennials versus annuals. That right there is enough to tell you if you can terminate a perennial, get it in your mix. Annual, I can't. I made the mistake, 7 years ago? I put out a measly 2 pounds of chicory, which I guess now is a lot. I can't stop that stuff. I cannot stop it. So we have to be careful what we do. But Christine showed us that with, it's quorum sensing is what it is. And with the families of cocktails, not the number of species in the cocktail, because you could have 15 species and only have 3 families represented. That's what I really see as the big change. And she's just an amazing person. Her demeanor, her character, everything. So we're really going to miss her. Her mother's not well. She's right now retired. The regenerative movement is deeply going to miss Dr. Jones. So thank you for asking though. Thank you. We'll call it good there. Thank you. Again, I'm absolutely honored to be in Canada. I really enjoy coming here. It's a beautiful country. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.